Hi, Kevin Coop here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy. So, once again, I have a business lesson from the movies. Although, in this case, it's not going to be from a character or a plot of a movie, it's actually going to be from the business of the movies. So, what I want to talk to you about is this movie called All the Money in the World. Now, All the Money in the World is a film about the kidnapping of John Paul Getty III. It's directed by Ridley Scott. And it's kind of interesting. J. Paul Getty, I actually remember when this actually happened. He was 16 years old, and it was a really interesting story. So Ridley Scott made this movie, and Michelle Williams played the kid who got kidnapped, and Mark Wahlberg played a CIA agent who helped them after the kidnapping, and Kevin Spacey played J. Paul Getty, who at the time was the richest man on the planet. He was an oil tycoon, richest guy on the planet. And so all is fine, everything's good. And then Kevin Spacey gets hit with all these sexual abuse allegations. And suddenly the movie looks completely untenable. So what Scott decides to do is he decides he's going to recast the part. He casts Christopher Plummer as J. Paul Getty. And he goes back and he reshoots all the scenes that Kevin Spacey had been in with Christopher Plummer. And he had to bring back the crew, he had to bring back the actors and stuff like that. And it cost millions of dollars to do this, plus they're racing the clock, because this all happened in the fall, and they've got a Christmas release date. Anyway, they did it, and it was pretty amazing. But that's really where it gets kind of interesting, because what's happened now that it's been released, and the reviews have been pretty good, and Plummer especially has gotten great reviews. Now that it's been released, they're discovering that Michelle Williams, when she went back to do the reshoots, she basically took guild minimum. She made like $1,000 or something like that, because she really thought it was important to get the movie made. Ridley Scott didn't make any more money for doing the reshoots. Mark Wahlberg, on the other hand, well, his agents knew when they had some leverage. So basically, they said it's going to cost you $1.5 million to get Mark to reshoot the scenes, which they had to do because if they were going to make the movie tenable. Now, listen, this is sort of a esoteric sort of problem, right? High-class problems for people with a lot of money. But it all happened at the time when there's a lot of discussion about pay inequity, especially in Hollywood, between men and women. And they've got a situation where Michelle Williams is making 0.1% of what Mark Wahlberg made for the reshoots. Again, high-class problems. Everybody's making plenty of money, but it was interesting, and it certainly wasn't fair. Now, a couple of things. First of all, it ends up that Michelle Williams and Mark Wahlberg are the same agent. I'm Michelle Williams. I'm thinking to myself, I think I got to find new representation. But more to the point, what was interesting to me about this, and this is where I think it gets applicable for everybody, is this had to be a problem the producers saw coming, right? They know, listen, they don't want to spend more money than they have to, but they have to know that they've got one star who's making $1.5 million for a couple of weeks' work, and one star, happens to be a woman, who's making 0.1% of that. And they had to know that at some point this is going to come back and bite them in the rear ends, but they didn't do anything about it. What did they do? They hoped nobody would find out. Well, when they did find out, it becomes a major story, and suddenly that's what people are talking about with this movie. They're not talking about the movie itself. This is something that a lot of businesses do, right? They say, okay, we know we got a problem coming, but let's not deal with it until we have to, or unless we have to. And it seems to me the one thing you don't want to do is hold your breath, cross your fingers, and hope that you don't have to do anything. That's a really bad business strategy. That kind of approach is not good for any kind of business. But that's what a lot of businesses do, right? They say, maybe it won't be a problem. Maybe if we wait long enough, it'll go away. Maybe if we ignore it, it'll go away. Maybe if I wait long enough, I can retire. It'll be somebody else's problem. People don't deal with problems as quickly as they should. And inevitably, right? Inevitably, if you deal with the problem earlier, you avoid bigger problems down the road. And that, to me, is the business lesson from All the Money in the World. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.